My fellow Americans, it is time to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the wind.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. I lived in Washington, D.C. for 15 years. It's a pretty small town. You get to know everyone. There's a director-level position who called me into his office in the first Trump administration. It was at the end of the Trump administration. Closed the door behind me, sat down with a big sigh, goes, "You know, the deep state is very real, dark, evil, and satanic. And they're operating right now in this building. And I'm helpless to fight them." It was told to me in confidence. So I'm not going to reveal like who and where, but like it was very disconcerting. It's something you don't want to hear from good people. And it's something that if you speak with anybody in the Trump administration, they just readily admit. There are evil forces that act on our federal government and cover up secrets and do unspeakable things like murder presidents on camera. You know, put a bullet in their head. They tried to do it with Trump, and on-air live TV execution, they accomplished it with JFK. Judge Napolitano, it still puts ice in my veins listening to this. Judge Napolitano asked Trump, like, "Yo, why didn't you release all the JFK
not
files?"
Too well, and he went off into a tangent about what he thought happened with the election. I said, you know, you made a promise to the public many times and to me privately that you haven't kept. What? I'll take care of it right now. I said, you promised you would release the records of the JFK assassination. He said to me, Judge, if they showed you what they showed me, you wouldn't have released it either. And I said, who's they and what did they show you? And then he said, Judge, someday when we're on the phone, and then he raised his voice, and there aren't 15 people listening to the phone call, back to a normal voice, I'll tell you.
Oh my God.
I mean, this makes it sound even worse. Who are?
Yeah. Who are they? Who are these people? These people like putting the fear of God in Trump, right? Over this kind of stuff based on everything we know about Trump. The guy survives the assassin's bullet. Man, it's crazy. RFK speaking about, of course, his uncle's murder.
Astonished that Trump didn't declassify him because he promised to during the campaign.
That was Mike Pompeo who did that.
Yeah, and that I talked to President Trump for the first time about that this week. And
what did he say?
He said that Mike Pompeo begged him to, and I don't think I'm telling tales out of school here.
No,
I think he told the same thing to you.
That's
right?
true.
But he said Mike Pompeo called him and said this would be a catastrophe to release these. You need to not do it.
What's the catastrophe exactly? Because we've gotten some of the files, right? Tucker Carlson saying dark forces are acting upon the Trump administration to prevent the release of the JFK and Epstein documents. Well, hot damn if that didn't age well. In the release of the JFK documents that we've seen so far, apparently there are 6 million documents. We've seen hundreds of thousands of them. And I think it's commendable that hundreds of thousands have been released. It created a constellation of what really happened. You can see various foreign intelligence agencies. You can see that Israel was pissed off at JFK because of the nuclear program, and that his entire CIA was sabotaging him, that JFK's CIA was acting against his orders. You can see CIA black operations all throughout the world, like black ops operations. You can peer right into them. Biological warfare that the CIA was engaging in Cuba, for instance. It's crazy. Operation Mongoose. Look it up. Nuts. So there's a lot in there. It's not like there's nothing in there. But there was one piece that was missing, which is what is the direct CIA's involvement with the man who they claim killed Kennedy, Oswald? And lo and behold, we finally have a little piece of that missing information that took a little while to get out, but now here it is. Shadowy CIA operative interacted with Lee Harvey Oswald months before JFK assassination. Let's go. A shadowy CIA operative specializing in psychological warfare interacted with Lee Harvey Oswald ahead of Kennedy's assassination, then ran interference against congressional investigators probing whether a U.S. spy agency was connected to the killing, newly disclosed documents show. Well, what is this? CIA officer George Janitas assumed the alias of Howard Gebler in January of 1963, and he led an American effort to infiltrate anti-communist Cuban student groups in the year leading up to JFK's killing. He interacted regularly with Lee Harvey Oswald. He led the Miami field office and was involved in false flags like Operation Northwoods. The CIA was planning on bombing the United States of America in order to spark all-out war with Cuba, blaming it on Cuba. He then lied to Congress. The CIA is like the pit of hell, man. The CIA is the pit of absolute like blackness and evil in our federal government. He lied to Congress. Janitis, the same guy that interacted with Harvey Oswald, was assigned to the CIA's liaison, the House Select Committee on Assassinations, as it probed the president's murder in 1976. And he openly lied about his identity. This is crazy. So now the CIA is just effectively giving him up. He won a medal, by the way, from the CIA for intelligence work. Thursday's release is just one of a trove of information to emerge the government works through a mandated disclosure related to JFK files. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. Previous releases have indicated the CIA knew more about Oswald than they told the public after the shooting, the documents disclosed in March, showing that 3 top CIA officials lied to investigators about their knowledge of the assassination beforehand. Would you look at that? CIA is totally and completely compromised in this. CIA admits shadowy officer monitored Oswald before JFK assassination. For the first time since President Kennedy's assassination, the CIA has admitted that they had officers specializing in psych warfare that were running Lee Harvey Oswald. Like at this point, you just have to like straight up admit that the CIA was operationally in charge of the assassination of JFK. You can see here the submitted statement from the CIA, pointlessly long and laborious, but properly reduced here. Janitis file is damaging to the story of lone gunman because it shows that Oswald was not lone in the sense of acting unobserved. To the contrary, he was monitored by senior CIA officers, the Miami branch chief Janitis, who got a medal for his handling of the operation. For the first time since JFK's assassination, the CIA admitted that they had an officer who was running, you can just assume that, running Oswald. Former CIA whistleblower reaffirms my belief that JFK indeed was removed by CIA elements. It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. He knows that's why it was kept. He knows that's why it kept so long. James Angleton maintained a file for years on Oswald prior to 1963. If Oswald had indeed traveled to Mexico City and met with American CIA, anybody curious about it, likely behind this cover-up, this is the direction. It has always been hidden at the CIA, what it was. It explains Napolitano and his interview with Trump. And Trump saying, like, if they told you what they told me, then you would have hit it too, right? Goodness gracious. Look at this. CIA officer had contacts with Oswald. CIA officer George Janitis, there he is, right there, oversaw a covert anti-Castro group, which had direct encounters with Oswald. Oswald worked with them. He was running Oswald. Like this, what it is. Psychological warfare operation against Lee Harvey Oswald. Disclosure was hidden in a batch of 40 documents concerning Officer George Janitis. Indicates the CIA lied for decades about his role in the Kennedy case and after the assassination. Why lie? You know, why do you lie about it? Lies cost you, right? Lies are tough. They're tough to maintain. You have to be creative about them. Why lie? Unless you have something far worse to hide, right? You don't lie for nothing. CIA spy met JFK killer before tragedy and lied to Congress about it. Goodness gracious. Psych warfare officer. Newly declassified docs. Crazy. 62 years later. So everyone's dead, right? Even the children of these people are grandparents at this point. Yeah, so everyone's dead. Incredible. The CIA actually gave a medal to their operative after he helped protect the agency from being exposed for his connections to Lee Harvey Oswald. The big question now is, how much did the CIA know about the imminent 1963 assassination plot? There's immediate former director Allen Dulles involved in the coup plot, as many suggest. And will POTUS ever allow this dreadful stain on history to be revealed? Wild, wild man. CIA agent who ran the sprawling Castro overthrow operation out of Miami. He was assigned to the CIA to spy on and obstruct congressional investigators in the 1977 House Committee assassination investigation. So much of this stuff has connections to Cuba, CIA, John F. Kennedy. Everybody who's I've ever spoken with about this, who knows what they're talking about, many of them have been live on the show, say that the Bay of Pigs, which was supposed to overtake Castro's Cuba, the JFK refusing air support or tactical military support, and thus letting those guys die on the beach, right? They trained up all these Cuban mercenaries to go retake Cuba. They were slaughtered on the beach in the Bay of Pigs. But they never forgave JFK for that, and they killed him for it because it was just such a humiliating operation. JFK, of course, thought the exact opposite. And now we're learning that this Janitas was working very close with Oswald months leading up to JFK's assassination. In fact, records detailing the activity of CIA-run Cuban student groups the month immediately before the assassination have been missing for decades. It's important because the questions surrounding the nature of Oswald's oddly conspicuous acts with Cuban groups and authorities, this is why I'm curious about whether anybody has found new documents about Janitas in the latest JFK document dump. Interesting. Very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is certainly there. Maybe we're going to have to wait for all the Epstein people to die, right? Because they're finally releasing this and admitting little bits and pieces after all these guys are dead, right? Can't charge anybody with this. But nonetheless, we're happy for the truth. We're thrilled that someone is telling the truth here. Okay. Maybe a little faster next time. And you wonder why we push so hard for the Epstein disclosures, right? All right. Look at this, 62 years later. Bastards. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe for the truth. We'll keep fighting for you. See ya.